Violence recently broke out in southwestern Angola, with large crowds taking to the streets and looting businesses. Chinese-owned companies and shops were among the main targets of the unrest. On July 28th, a video surfaced showing a mob violently attempting to break into a Chinese business. The footage showed individuals lifting a workbench and forcefully smashing the door. The chairman of the local Chinatown said, Chinese-owned shops were definitely looted. It only took about half a minute for them to clear out an entire store. From what we've been able to gather, at least a dozen shops were hit. Brothers, take a look. Today, during the big rally, they're kicking all the local employees out of Chinatown. If we don't do this, these people might start working together, and that could be a huge problem. Now all the main doors are locked, so we're letting them leave through the small door. Comments on the video included reactions such as, "This is worse than a zombie movie. Many schools still bring in people from these areas. Will Guangzhou see $0 shopping soon?" Another commenter added, "Someone should hang the flag up already." That same day, resident Wang Xinjun of the China Peaceful Unification Promotion Association in Zimbabwe reported that a Chinese citizen had been shot and killed during one of the robberies. He explained that these robberies in Angola were premeditated, specifically targeting Chinese-run mining businesses. The criminals, believed to have inside help, carefully selected their targets, with most groups consisting of 5 or 6 armed individuals. Early morning on July 31st, robbers armed with rifles and handguns used ladders to scale fences and break into a Chinese business compound. They quickly subdued more than 10 local employees and 3 security guards, forcing several Chinese citizens into a room. The room was ransacked and some items were stolen. Authorities arrived around 1 a.m. after hearing gunshots, causing the robbers to flee. Fortunately, no Chinese citizens were injured in this robbery. The unrest began on July 1st, after the Angolan government announced a 33% hike in diesel prices. This increase led to a surge in taxi fares, making life even more difficult for residents. Taxis, where drivers bear all the costs, became increasingly unprofitable. This fuel price rise led to protests in the capital, Luanda. On July 28th, the violence escalated into nationwide riots. Protesters set up burning barricades, looted stores, vandalized ATMs, and torched trucks and businesses. The rioters focused their attention on Chinese-owned businesses, blaming them for worsening their lives and creating more poverty. Many also criticized the government for becoming more corrupt and oppressive. In response, local Chinese businesses barricaded their windows and doors using heavy-duty trucks and containers, adding barbed wire for added protection. By July 30th, the death toll had reached 22, with 197 people injured. The riots had been sparked by a taxi driver strike in Luanda on July 28th, which led to 4 deaths. Over the past 24 hours, police in Luanda arrested over 500 suspects involved in looting and destruction. Owners of Chinese businesses, CCP officials, and local Chinese workers in Angola have all reported a rise in violent attacks targeting Chinese people. In June, following a series of robberies involving Chinese citizens on the road and at business camps, the Chinese embassy in Angola issued a rare warning. They urged Chinese citizens and businesses in Angola to be aware of security risks, increase self-protection awareness, and respond appropriately to robbery and other violent crimes. The violence in Angola is part of a wider trend. In recent years, Chinese businesses and citizens across Africa have increasingly faced violent attacks. A recent case involved Ms. Shi, a businesswoman from Hebei, China, who had moved to Zambia to run a farm. She suddenly went missing. On August 2nd, Red Star News reported that Ms. Shi, who had been missing for a month, was confirmed dead. The suspect is a local manager she employed who remains on the run. Ms. Shi, originally from Jingzhou, Hebei, was born in 1968. She had worked as a broadcaster at a German company before entering international trade in 2010. She moved to Zambia in 2015, initially engaging in various trading businesses around Lusaka, and later settled in the southern province of Livingstone, where she ran a poultry and vegetable farm. During her time in Zambia, Ms. Shi was well connected with the local Chinese community. On the day she went missing, she had been chatting on WeChat with 2 Chinese businessmen and showed no signs of distress. After that, she disappeared, and neither her business partners nor her daughter in China could get in touch with her. On the morning of July 10th, Mr. Sun, the manager of the Oriental Swan Hotel in Livingstone, visited Ms. Shi's home in Mukuni village. He found the gate locked, 2 ducks had starved to death, and 2 dogs were emaciated. However, there was no sign of Miss She. A new local worker claimed he had been hired by the farm manager Andrew just 5 or 6 days earlier and had never met Miss She. Police later searched Miss She's home and 2 farms, finding her passport, Zambian green card, and cash missing. Her farm manager, Andrew, was nowhere to be found and his phone was unreachable. A local informant mentioned seeing Andrew driving Miss She's car on July 10th. The police sent him a message asking him to report to the station on July 12th, but he did not show up. On July 22nd, local police arrested Andrew's wife and found Miss She's guitar, car, and other belongings valued at about $400 in Andrew's home. However, due to a flat tire, the car could no longer be moved. When the police arrived, Andrew's wife's brother shouted a warning, allowing Andrew to escape into the nearby mountains. Police later learned that Andrew had a partner in Mukuni village, and the two were suspected of being involved in Miss She's kidnapping. On the afternoon of July 31st, local residents reported a foul smell near Livingston International Airport. Police went to the site and dug up a body, which was later confirmed by Miss She's daughter after identifying the clothes and photos of the body. Miss She's tragic fate in Zambia is not an isolated case. Official reports show that on May 29th, a Chinese-owned farm in Kitwe, Zambia's copper-belt province, was robbed by armed criminals, resulting in the death of a Chinese citizen. On March 20th, another robbery occurred at a Chinese enterprise in Zambia's copper-belt province's Chimbishi town, leaving 1 employee dead and another injured.
一名同胞在赞比亚不幸遇害身亡，这名遇害同胞进入一家农场。
In May, a fellow Chinese citizen was tragically killed in Zambia. This individual was running a farm. According to the current investigation, the attacker was a security guard employed at the farm, working with a former employee who had been fired. Basically, it was an inside job. In Africa, whether you are running a factory or managing a business park, security is essential. But lately, there have been multiple cases of security personnel working with outsiders to rob their employers. Some are aware of their employer's cash situation, while others have personal grievances seeking revenge. For Chinese people doing business in Africa, it's crucial to choose security companies carefully. You also need to check the backgrounds of your employees. Avoid handling large amounts of cash at your business location, and be cautious about letting your drivers or household staff know your whereabouts. It's important to install video surveillance, remote alarm systems, and emergency contact systems at both your workplace and home. Safety should never be taken lightly when you're abroad.
One user commented, "I left Guangxi and I tell people I'm Japanese, too scared to speak Mandarin. What's going on with our African brothers? Aren't Chinese people supposed to be untouchable in Africa? Why are we becoming ADMs now?"
这几天安哥拉暴乱。
Over the past few years, you've probably heard about the riots in Angola, where Chinese businesses were looted in the so-called $0 shopping incidents. But at the same time in Mali, another Chinese mining operation was attacked. 5 Chinese citizens were kidnapped and the facility was destroyed by fire. The attackers were part of the Jainim group, which we support as part of our efforts to back Islam and Muslims. On July 1st, this group also attacked a cement plant in western Mali, kidnapping 1 Chinese citizen and 3 Indians, while burning everything down. On June 12th, another Chinese company in the Korikoro area of Mali was attacked, suffering massive losses. Once again, this was the work of the Jainim group, which you, the CCP, support. On August 2nd, the Chinese embassy in Mali issued a warning, urging all Chinese enterprises and personnel involved in gold mining in Mali to immediately cease operations and evacuate. The embassy released an updated safety alert, noting a rise in kidnappings and attacks targeting foreign businesses and personnel outside the capital, Bamako. These incidents have resulted in severe consequences, and the security risks in the region continue to escalate. The embassy urged Chinese citizens and businesses in Mali to take immediate action to protect themselves and avoid personal harm. According to the embassy, all Chinese citizens in Mali are advised to take all necessary measures to enhance their security by avoiding rural areas, traveling alone, or going out after dark. If possible, they should evacuate to safer regions, such as Bamako. In cases of kidnapping or robbery, individuals are encouraged to stay calm, avoid extreme actions, and prioritize their personal safety before attempting to flee. It's also crucial to contact the embassy and report any incidents to the authorities. For Chinese companies and employees working in dangerous sectors like gold mining, the embassy has emphasized the need to eliminate any notion of luck and immediately suspend operations and relocate to Bamako. Companies are also required to report their status to the embassy. The embassy stressed that any refusal to stop operations or report to the embassy will result in full responsibility for any serious consequences. It's important to note that, according to reports from May, Chinese citizens in the region have already been targeted in armed attacks. On May 22nd, a Chinese businessman in Mali using the pseudonym Liu Ming was traveling with his security personnel through a region known locally as No Man's Land, when they were attacked by armed robbers on motorcycles. Liu Ming and his security team fought back with shotguns, and the standoff lasted for 15 minutes before the robbers fled. Fortunately, no one was injured in the attack. Liu Ming later shared photos showing his vehicle's windows riddled with bullet holes and the body of the car also marked with gunfire. He commented, "The car was a bit destroyed last night, but everyone is safe." He also mentioned that he wasn't carrying any valuable items or large amounts of cash, but added that if the robbers thought there was too little money, it could have led to even greater danger. One commenter questioned, "What happened for Africans to suddenly turn on China? Wasn't China's second largest economy supposed to command respect? Is it because we've cut back on spending and now our African counterparts look down on us?" Another user commented, "Chinese people abroad are just walking renminbi. The Chinese passport is becoming like a bank card. Police and customs officers from different countries swipe it freely." A user recently shared his experience of having his card swiped. "Hey everyone, I've safely arrived back in the embrace of the motherland. I just crossed the border. When I was going there, the Laos customs charged me $250. And on the way back, they charged a $10 handling fee. It's specifically aimed at us. If you hold a Chinese passport, you have to pay. If you don't have this passport, you don't have to pay." It wasn't just me either. All the Chinese people in line had to do the same. Everyone had to pay. So the lesson is, don't come if you don't have to. We're here for project investments, but if you don't have that, there's no point in coming. They treat us like cash cows, you know? Anyway, we've crossed the border and now we're at the Chinese border checkpoint. Once we get past this, we're back in the embrace of the motherland. They probably won't charge us here though. That place was already corrupt. There's nothing we can do. This is the result of having a so-called strong motherland. They charge us a phone fee, specifically targeting us. I didn't dare argue with them. It was not even worth it. They're making things difficult for you, so why argue with them? I can't do much by myself. Everyone behind me just paid without any questions. But I did argue with the officer a bit, though. Anyway, once we get through this border, this passport won't matter anymore. We'll start using our IDs. I really don't get it. We're so good to them, and they still want to squeeze us for money with all these petty annoyances. All the paperwork was in order, but they still asked for a tip. How did they ask for it? They made us fill out forms, but of course there's no Chinese on them, just a bunch of squiggly characters. There's nothing you can do, you have to pay them to get help. And look at the people in line, all so polite and cooperative, all paying, no questions asked. It was just my son and I who fought back a little, and they threw our passports at us, telling us to fill out the form. Of course we couldn't understand it, forget it. After thinking about it, I just couldn't stand it. It wasn't about the $10, it's about how they're bullying us. How can a great country like ours be treated this way? It's the sad reality, but that's how it is. Another user remarked, "I don't know if this person genuinely doesn't understand or is pretending not to." First, there's always an English translation on forms. If you can't read English, it's common to ask for help and give a tip. It's not a given that they'll help you for free, they'll only do it willingly. This person doesn't seem to understand the difference between authority and business. Second, does he really think China is that powerful? Just because China has a large economy doesn't mean everyone should fear it. The Chinese government, no matter how aggressive, hasn't made the people wealthy or given them rights. Why would other countries respect a government that oppresses its people but still praises its regime? Third, he thinks, we've been so good to you, but where's the good? He doesn't understand that China's foreign investments are never about benefiting local people. They're about expanding power and enriching the elite. The local people have never received any real benefits. The poor in these countries don't think China is doing them any favors. This person should travel more, especially to Africa, and see the reality. When the Chinese government can no longer buy praise and flattery, that's when you'll see the true opinions of others. One user commented, measuring a country's strength has never been about the power of the elite or the country's finances, but about the well-being of ordinary people. It's about whether the common people have money.
最新消息，
Breaking news. Here's the real income data for Chinese people. This is all based on the 2024 per capita household income statistics from Zhongjing Company. First, there are 5.5 million people with a monthly income of 0. Between 1,000 and 2,000 yuan a month, there are about 370 million people. Between 2,000 and 3,000 yuan, there are about 200 million people. Between 3,000 and 5,000 yuan, about 156 million people. Between 5,000 and 10,000 yuan, there are about 64 million people. Between 10,000 and 20,000 yuan, about 7.8 million people. Over 20,000 yuan, only about 70,000 people. So, the total number of people earning under 5,000 yuan a month is around 1.3 billion. Of course, this data comes directly from the statistics released by Zhongjin. Another user commented, "Seeing these statistics, I wonder how those who always talk about patriotism, 5 Mao and little pinks feel now." These are official figures released by the Chinese government. August 1st is China's so-called Armed Forces Day, and some of these accounts are starting to shout about going to war with Taiwan or anyone else. If a war really happens, I wonder how many of those in these statistics would actually sacrifice their lives for the country. That's an interesting question. Let's see what the soldiers have to say.
八一建军节
Happy Army Day, everyone. Well, I'm not happy. If there's a war, those of you who get the Army Day consolation money, you'll need to go first. Got it? You guys are probably getting so much consolation money that your hands are sore. We envy you to death. It's been nearly 20 years since I retired, and I haven't seen a dime. Not even a single cent. This year, it seems like they didn't even send any comforting text messages. If we go to war, those of you getting the consolation money, you better be on the front lines. Be a little more aware, okay? One commenter said, "That's it. The only people who could really be considered patriotic on the income chart are probably under 70,000. Now, even the poor guys in Africa can see it. The Chinese government is out of money. Forget about going to war, it's on the verge of collapse." So now, they're just going around robbing Chinese people.